this press conference, huh? What's up, gang?
So,
Everybody's in town already, huh?
Dana, if we could start, first of all, the guy that you didn't take, like, you were very adamant. He had a knockout, he finished it in the third round. What was it that you didn't like about I'm not how to say his name, Belgori?
Well, everything. First of all, he looked like he was in a weight class. How they're in the same weight class is beyond me. He was 11-1 favorite. The other guy took the fight on short notice, poked him in the eye 4 or 5 times. Hit him with a combo of 1-2 in both eyes at one point. And then came out in the third round and tried to finish it. Just, I'm not interested.
And then Josias, right? That was an interesting fight. I mean, it wasn't his performance so much as what you think you see down the road in him.
Yeah, no, it was definitely his performance. Guy's undefeated. You can tell he's a freak athlete. All my Africa talk. This guy trains in the Congo. I'm assuming there's not a lot of good training partners out there. And he looked good against the guy who trains with one of the best in the world every day. And he looked great. I mean, if you look at him, his head movement, speed, wherever the fight went, he was good. And then you saw him start to get tired out a little at the end there, couldn't get the takedowns of it. So I think that you take this kid Musasa, you bring him out here, you throw this guy in there and let him train with some killers out here for a while. This kid could be really good, and he's definitely got a chin.
Do you give the other kid, since you thought he won and you said you thought he had potential, do you bring him back and put him on another show?
Yeah, I could see him coming back. I mean, the kid's 9-1 now. Yeah, he's definitely talented. And he's only 26 years old. He's a young guy.
And then in the opening fight, the armbar, you sounded like you weren't as impressed, and it seemed like she came out and took care of business pretty good.
I agree, but I thought the beginning of the fight was a little, she's a girl who has 9 fights, and it looked a little sloppy to me at first. It looked a little sloppy and a little weird, but after she pulled off the armbar, I just chalked it up to nerves. She's probably very nervous. There's so many different things that I look at when I watch these kids, and she definitely looked nervous to me.
And then the whole thing with Cody's opponent pulling out. Tell us exactly what happened. Like, what was the sequence of events? Because somebody said Sean went back there and tried to talk him into fighting.
So Sean came busting in the back room and then walked right through and went somewhere. Apparently he went to the locker room. He had heard that this kid was pulling out. So he went back there, gave him a pep talk, and the kid said, yeah, and then got his hands wrapped again. And then halfway through the second fight, Sean got called again that he was pulling out. He re-wrapped his hands.
Right.
Then said, I'm out. I mean, this kid flew in from Brazil. We flew him from Brazil, put him out here, but that's what this show is for, too. Sometimes you don't have to step into the octagon to know that this isn't for me. I can't take this. I can't handle this pressure. Whatever his deal was. And I'm not shitting on the kid at all. Listen, it happens. You show up here and, it's real. I mean, when you come here and you're 9-0 or you're this and that, and then the guy that you're fighting is also 9-0, and a lot of these kids have hype on them already. You get here and you realize it's not for you. I would rather have that happen here than an event, a UFC event.
2 other questions I wanted to ask you. You're going to do the show Saturday in 1080p. Have you ever given thought to doing 4K, a 4K fight card?
No.
Is it just too much to?
Wow. I don't know yet. I mean, listen, as technology continues to get better, who knows?
And then just, the $23 million, you said tonight that it was a sellout, so the $23 million, what does that milestone mean for you? Because I think that's, what, $6 million more than your previous record. Boxing has had those kind of gates, for a long time. Like, so for you to hit past the 20 million mark for the first time, what's the significance of that?
Yeah, it's a big deal, especially in a fight like this. But yeah, you know me, I love to break records. So this is going to be the biggest gate we've ever done in the history of the company, and the most pre-buys on pay-per-view ever, too. People buying the event the week before the week of the event. So, yeah, as we continue to get closer to Saturday, I'm sure we'll be breaking more records.
Danny, you talk about nerves on this show, right? Do you ever notice that compared to the UFC, guys in here have adrenaline dumps more often, you see them start more tentatively? Do you notice that when you watch these fights?
Sometimes. In some of the fights I do, and some you do not. I mean, some of the kids just come in here and deliver. But those are things we look at when we're looking at, you know, the talent, whether we like them, whether we're going to sign. There's so many different little things we look at, but that's definitely one of them. But it's absolutely normal for that to happen. And I can't believe that it doesn't happen more.
Do you almost sometimes think you're kind of seeing some of these guys almost at their worst, right? You can tell the nerves are getting to them, they still put off the performance. So when they get more and more used to it, you're expecting maybe double the athlete that you get to see in here.
Yeah, just like the Ultimate Fighter, I like the fact that they get to get in here and feel the pressure and all the things that come along with coming and performing in here. And I'm sure they're still going to get it in their first fight in the UFC, you know, but this definitely helps. Unless, like the old days, we would take these kids straight out of these small fights and bring them into the UFC. Now you get to get in here and not only feel the nerves, feel the tension, feel the pressure of it, but you also face off with somebody that's just as good as you, with the same record as you, that early on in your career. In most organizations around the world, that never happens. You know, a 9-0 fighting a 7-0 or 8-0 or 9-0. It just doesn't happen. It gives you another level of confidence when you get through the Contender Series. And, I mean, like last weekend, I mean, we keep talking about her, but, I mean, look at the amount of followers she has right now, the money she made. It's just, you can come in here and change everything in one night. And for us, now when she comes and fights in the UFC, everybody already knows her, and she's got a great story, and, you know, it's huge.
When something like this happens to Cody Steele's opponent, where he pulls out in the back, right? So obviously you see him, this isn't for him. But then you look at Cody, and he takes his wraps off. Then he's told the fight's back on. He has to get back in the mode, get his hand wrapped again, and he doesn't miss a beat. He just gets it, does it? Do you see that and respect that?
I think he was a big reason why the kid cut his hand wraps off. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, his reputation preceded him, and you know, made this guy, and apparently, you know, this kid has a real record, you know, and he apparently beat, Pereira. So fascinating, but.
So this Saturday, obviously the Spear Show, and you've done a lot of media ahead of it. Now, with just sort of days to go, I'm sure there's last minute rehearsals and stuff. What would you describe your emotions as? Is it excitement to finally show everyone you can back up what you've been saying? Is it nerves like, oh, I hope nothing goes wrong? What are the emotions like heading into Saturday?
No, I'm pretty cool right now. You know, everything's there. All the bells and whistles are in place. Now it's just about rehearsal leading up to this event. And normally when you change something in your production, right, you would rehearse it, you do it that night, and then you figure out, we didn't like this, we like that, and you start to make tweaks. There will be no tweaking. This is the way this is going to go that night, and it is what it is. And yeah, I'm very comfortable and confident going into this event.
If you could pick one biggest challenge that there was in getting this show to happen and getting it to work for a UFC event, what was the biggest challenge you guys had to overcome?
Lighting. Yeah, there's no lighting grid. So this will be the first event ever in the history of the company, probably in the history of combat sports, I would imagine, where there isn't a lighting grid hanging over the octagon. So you have lights, cameras, microphones, different audio, all up in that trussing up there, and that's all gone. So that was the big first challenge.
Two more quick ones. You know, this is a love letter to Mexico. Just out of curiosity, who is your favorite Mexican fighter in history?
Well, you know, I was saying, when you talk about Mexicans and their place in combat sports history, I mean, I was a white kid from America who was a big Julio Cesar Chavez fan, you know, to the point where I had his T-shirts and watched all his fights, and you know, so I would have to say Chavez.
And last one from me, Jorge Masvidal says he wants to come back to the UFC. Just curious if you guys have an interest in bringing Jorge back and if we'll see him fighting him.
That is interesting. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah.
Just one quick one. There's a lot of chatter about how the Sphere presentation will obviously, it'll be this big event in person, but they're curious how it will translate through the broadcast? Like, will it just feel like a normal UFC broadcast, or will it be different? Will there be a lot of, how will you allow people watching at home to feel the difference of the Sphere card?
So normally, every Saturday, we have 2 trips, right? And there is a in-house live event that is different than the event that is on television that beams out to the whole world. There will be 2 more trucks added to this show. And you will have, Glenn Weiss is one of probably the greatest director in Hollywood right now. He does all the award shows, he's done them all. When we called him and asked him to be a part of this, he said, "You guys are crazy. I'm in." He loves the challenge of this thing. So he will be shooting both of those things at the same time to try to give you the feel that you are inside the Sphere, whether you're watching it at home, in a bar, or wherever.
And you said there's going to be like movies playing in between fights, like the history of Mexico. Will fans be able to watch this in person even if they're not at the Sphere? Like, will they show it like on TV or like on YouTube?
Oh yeah. No, this is, yeah. Yeah, there's movie, there's chapters. So each chapter starts before the next fight. So there'll be a show open, right? Then the first movie will run, and it will end at the end of the fight, and then we call them worlds. And the fight will live inside this world. And the world will evolve while the fights are going on, but it'll be very subtle. Clouds will move, fires will burn, birds will fly, or whatever the hell's going on in that world at that time, and it will slowly evolve during the fight. There are also going to be Easter eggs in each one of these films. And we're working it out with legal right now. But what I want to do, if somebody can find all the Easter eggs, they'll give you $25,000. And what else was I going to tell you?
Are they UFC Easter eggs, or like what are we?
UFC what?
Are the Easter eggs UFC related, or are they like, what are we looking for?
They are related to the show. Yes, they're related to the show. And I forgot something else I was going to tell you. I forgot what the hell I was going to say.
So there's 10 fights, will there be 10 movies?
No, the prelims will be different. This is during the main card. Yeah. So throughout the night, the show will progress throughout the night.
When you show the movies on